The woman arrived just after noon, sleeves rolled, hair tied back, carrying a small bucket that clinked softly as she walked. The iron gate closed behind her with a muted thud, and for a moment she stood there, adjusting her grip, steadying her breath. Houses like this always made her pause: tall walls, trimmed hedges, windows that reflected the sky but revealed nothing of what waited inside. Still, work was work. She pressed the bell. The door opened almost immediately, as if the man had been waiting. He was taller than she expected, wearing a simple button-down shirt with the sleeves loosely cuffed, his expression polite but guarded. There were faint lines around his eyes that spoke of long nights and constant thought. He glanced at the agency badge clipped to her bag, nodded once, and stepped aside. "Come in." "Thank you for being on time," he said, his voice calm but distant. She slipped off her shoes at the door without being asked. The house smelled faintly of polish and something old, books, maybe, or memories that had settled into the walls. Light filtered through tall windows, illuminating dust motes drifting lazily in the air. Everything was clean on the surface, yet somehow untouched, as if no one truly lived there. "I'll start with the living room and kitchen," she said softly. "That's fine," he replied, already turning away. "I'll be in my study. Let me know if you need anything." His footsteps faded down the hall, replaced by the quiet hum of the house. That was when she noticed the little girl sitting halfway up the staircase. She couldn't have been more than 6, small and still, hugging a stuffed rabbit with one ear missing. Her dark eyes followed every movement, cautious but curious. The woman offered a gentle smile. "Hi," she said, keeping her voice low. "I'm just here to clean." The girl didn't respond, but she didn't look away either. The woman took that as permission enough. She began her work slowly, methodically, as if the house itself were fragile. She dusted shelves lined with books that looked well-loved but unopened in years. Family photos sat framed on the mantel, most of them featuring just the man and the child, smiling stiffly at parks, birthdays, school events. There was only one photo of a woman, tucked slightly behind the others, as if it didn't quite belong anymore. As the woman wiped the glass, her hand lingered for a fraction of a second. She moved on. The vacuum hummed softly as she cleaned the rugs, then quieted again. She wiped fingerprints from the glass coffee table, folded a throw blanket that had been left half-slipped onto the floor. With every small task, the space seemed to breathe a little easier. From the corner of her eye, she noticed the girl shift closer, now sitting on the bottom step. The stuffed rabbit dangled from her arm, its worn fabric evidence of countless hugs. "You like rabbits?" the woman asked gently, kneeling to wipe the baseboard nearby. The girl nodded once. "I had one like that when I was little," the woman said. "Mine lost an ear too." That earned her a flicker of interest, a tiny smile that appeared and vanished just as quickly. Still, it was something. In the kitchen, sunlight streamed through the window, catching on the polished countertops as the woman worked. She washed a few cups left in the sink, lined them neatly to dry. She wiped down the table, pausing when she noticed crayon marks faintly scratched into the wood. Instead of scrubbing them away completely, she softened them, leaving a trace. Some things deserved to stay. She could hear the man's voice faintly from the study, measured, professional, discussing meetings and deadlines. The contrast between his controlled tone and the quiet presence of his child in the house tugged at something inside her. As she returned to the living room, she nearly startled when the girl spoke. "You clean nice," the child said. The woman smiled warmly. "Thank you. You're very kind." The girl studied her face intently, as if searching for something familiar. The woman felt that look like a weight, though she couldn't explain why. Time passed gently. Room by room, order returned, not the cold, untouched kind, but something softer. Pillows were fluffed, curtains adjusted to let in more light. Even the air felt different, less heavy. Eventually, the sound of a chair scraping echoed from the study. The man emerged, rubbing his temples, heading toward the kitchen for water. He stopped short when he saw the living room. It wasn't dramatically changed. Nothing new had been added. Yet it looked warmer, lived in, as if someone had remembered how to care. His gaze shifted, and landed on the woman. For a heartbeat, he didn't move. Something about her posture, the way she stood near the window, sunlight catching the edge of her face, it stirred a distant unease, a sense of something unfinished. He took another step forward, trying to place the feeling. Before he could speak, a small voice cut through the silence. "Daddy, look." He turned instinctively toward his daughter. She had stood up straight, excitement lighting her face in a way he hadn't seen in a long time. Her small finger stretched out, pointing with absolute certainty. "It's her," the girl said, as if announcing a wonderful discovery. The man followed the direction of her finger. And in that instant, the glass of water slipped slightly in his hand, his breath catching as the past surged forward, uninvited, unstoppable.